Hello guys and gals, and welcome to another episode of Introduction to Classes. Today, we're going to be doing the Assassin. So the Assassin is a very interesting character and definitely has some very interesting trees. I have personally built a Trap Assassin. I have personally played around with all of the Shadow Discipline skills. I did build one martial arts assassin, and I'm kind of familiar with how everything works. I'm going to be honest with you, this is probably my least knowledgeable tree, like, in the game. Like, out of all the characters, and out of all the trees, and out of all the classes, this tree, the martial arts tree on the assassin, is probably the one I know the least about. And even then, I still know enough. And this is just an introduction. This is not a high-end, hell Diablo murdering guide. This is this is just an introduction to the classes, so we'll be fine. So first off, we're going to cover equipment. So, low-level equipment, introduction to the class, putting on your gear, getting your equipment right. So I want to put on these goblin toe boots, because they have crushing blow. It's a very nice effect. How am I going to do that? Well, if I don't have enough strength, I'm going to have to put strength in. Now, you can put the strength in only just enough so that you can put on the equipment. But if you have +2 skills, +2 strength equipment, that's going to make it a little bit more difficult. So, for instance, I still can't use it because the Sanders was giving me 5 to strength and allows me to use it. But as soon as I take off that Sanders, yeah. So I'm going to need 50 strength. Alright, let's give her some stupid equipment. We're going to give her a shield, so she needs 60 strength for the shield. You know what, let's give her I think I have a rhyme shield in here. Oh, no, I don't. We have to make it. That's right, I forgot. So these are the runes that you're going to get early on. They're pretty easy to come by. You can get Am runes, Dull runes, Eld, Heth, Hell, Tal, Shale, Ral, Ort, Nef, Ith, Thul, Tyr, and then Soul. I forgot a Soul, but Soul is in the lore hat here. A really good shield to use early on is actually a Rhyme shield. It's Shale, and then F. That gets you a nice 40% faster block rate, 20% increased chance of blocking, regenerate mana, all resistance 25, cannot be frozen, 25% better magic items. Just a very nice shield all around. But we can't equip it because we don't have enough strength. So let's go ahead and plink some more points into strength just so that we can equip that. I believe that was 75. Now, there is an alternative to shields. So let me go over this real quick, because this is part of your stats. All right. So if you were to build shield on your assassin, you're going to want to build dexterity, which is going to increase your block chance. You notice how it says 2% here. If I put 5 points in, or else let's put 10 points in. Now it's at 7, and then if I put 10 more points in, now it's at 13. And you can continue to do this all the way up to your cap, which is 75%. I believe it caps out at around 147 dexterity. It's just a very nice way to get your block chance up. Now, obviously, you don't need to put the stats directly into dexterity. You can just simply get dexterity items, like the Sanders Taboo has +10 to dexterity. So you'll notice I have 23%. And that 23% goes to 29%. So you can calculate in your plus to dexterity into that equation as well. Now, there is another alternative. You can dual wield blades. And I'm going to explain why this is actually a pretty good idea. So you have here weapon block. And we're going to go ahead and cap this out real quick. So at level 20, or level 21, since I have the lore helmet on, it's at 58%, which is not as good as the 75% on the shield. However, the shield can't block spells. For some reason or another, the block that comes from your dual wielding, you know, claws or Katars or whatever it is that you put on, has the ability to block more than just a melee or ranged attack. So let's go ahead and grab 2 claws here real quick. And we're going to give her the ability to block there. So you see, now I have a chance to block 58%, which is the same amount as the weapon block. So when I switch back to my shield, I'm down to 23 because this does not help your shield. And then when I switch, it goes back to 58. So very interesting thing to note about weapon block is that it blocks everything and not just melee and ranged. So, you know, you can even block like a sorceress's frozen orb damage. Alright, so back to stats. So you put in the amount of strength you need for your gear. You put in the amount of dexterity that you need for your block chance. And then pretty much everything else is going to go into vitality. You don't really need to build energy on a assassin. So, like, for instance, let's go ahead and get all our gear on. Make sure we have the right amount of stat points. I don't know why she has a druid mask. We could give her the Tal F. I mean, why not? Stealth, really easy low level armor. Give her some faster run walk. She already has. Let's get a Nagel ring. We'll throw a Catherine seal on there. Why not? And let's put that over here. Alright, so pretty much everything else that you have at this point is going to go into vitality. Once you have determined how much strength you need, once you've determined how much dexterity you need, you know, for your weapons, for your shield, for your armor, etc., you know, for your block chance, depending on whether you're going to go with a shield or whether you're going to go with a dual wielding claws, you know, that's completely up to you. Once you've done all that, plank all your rest of your points into vitality. Now, that's not a mod, guys. That's... Well, hello, Jimmy. Woo! Y'all see that cat? Put that on instant replay. That's not a mod, guys. That's... Well, hello, Jimmy. So, if you hold down Shift, you can actually click, and it puts all your points into a particular stat. Be careful with that, especially since you only get 3 resets. Well, at least you really only get 1 reset early on, and then you get a second reset when you get to Nightmare, and then the 3rd reset in Hell doesn't come till much later when you get there, unless you know, power level your character through. All right, so we have our equipment on. Let's go ahead and grab her a belt real quick. You know, just simply so she has potion slots in case I need to actually use some potions. Let's go sell these crappy ones. And we're going to start going over the skills. There are 2 distinct assassins. So, for instance, they pretty much follow the trees. It's very similar to the way that Amazon works. This tree, your Shadow Disciplines tree, is sort of like your passive tree. Like, it's the tree that that gives you all your little bonuses that are going to help you out for most of the things that you're going to do in the game. Now, this is probably the tree that we want to cover first before we do anything else. Since we've already covered weapon block, why not? Alright, so we start off with Claw Mastery here. Obviously increases your physical damage with your claws. It's extremely similar to the Barbarian's mastery for his weapons, and you notice that it even gives you a 21% chance of critical strike. So this is literally giving you double damage along with the extra damage that it's giving you and the attack percentage. And that's just going to modify all your base damage from your claws to everything else that gets damage from your claws. So for instance, all of your martial arts skills, which are pulling damage from your claws, or, you know, for instance, one of them actually pulls damage from your kicks. That's Dragon Talon. So that one's not going to get a bonus from Claw Mastery. So if you're going to be a kick dragon talon person, you might not build that. And then even some of these over here in the trap zone, like the Blade Sentinel, gains plus 3/8 of your weapon damage. These are weapon damage as well. And then there's also, I'm trying to remember here. But there was one more little thing here. No, I think I'm mixing up another character. That's fine. Alright, so obviously we get your Claw Mastery. Let's go ahead and put 1 point into all these. Just gonna grab everything. Give me just a second, y'all. Probably don't have enough points left to grab 1 point in everything. Oh, yeah, I do. Sweet. Alright, so Burst of Speed. Burst of Speed is actually very nice. It gives you the ability to, obviously, walk and run faster, but it also increases your attack speed. And a lot of people don't know this, but your traps, the speed at which you can throw your traps down is determined by your attack speed, not by your casting speed, because they're not technically spells. You know, so if you're casting your traps, Burst of Speed will actually help you with that. Now, the problem with Burst of Speed is that it's usurped by Fade. So as good as Burst of Speed is, Fade is just so much better. It is a resist all, and you can't have both up at the same time, which is why, obviously, one usurps the other. And Fade allows you to build much more uniquely. You know, most characters have to put on all these items that give, you know, plus to resistances, all resists, you know, resist to a particular resistances. As a character like a barbarian or a assassin, which gets these passive bonuses to their resistances, you are in a unique situation where you can build your character differently than everyone else. And believe it or not, Fade also gives you a small amount of resistance to physical damage. I'm pretty sure at cap level it's 20%, I want to say. Let me just double check that because I don't want to give you all the wrong numbers. It's a hidden thing. It doesn't actually tell you that it gives you physical resistance. It's not going to show on your character statistics or anything. It just simply does give you 20. I think it's 20. Where is it? So yes, at level 20, it gives 20% physical resistance. At level 25, it's 25%. So it's 1% per level. Every level you go up Fade, you get a small bonus to that physical resistance. So for instance, at level 20, you're 64% resistance to all elements, and it lasts for 348 seconds, which is pretty good. And you get a 20% bonus, you know, to all your physical resistance as well. And I don't know, that little hidden thing would have been nice if they told you, but I guess if they told you, nobody would ever use Burst of Speed because Fade is just ridiculous. So, you know, right off the bat here, we have two amazing passive skills that are going to make your survivability go way up, way through the roof. Weapon Block is going to allow you to literally block spells. And that's just amazing. No other class has that ability, unless you count Druid's Cyclone Armor, which isn't really blocking per se, but it's absorption, which is nice. And then you have another skill which literally reduces all your elemental damage intake and your physical damage intake. Now, granted, by different percentages, but combining Weapon Block and Fade together is going to make you a ridiculously tanky character. Then you have Venom, which is pretty strictly for a melee character. So if you're going to be a melee character, you know, that's something that you could look at as a additional damage added onto your attacks. So it's not going to be the most amazing thing in the world, especially since, again, it takes the place of... where are you, Venom? It takes the place of your Fade. I think overall, most people are probably going to build Fade, just simply because Fade opens up your character to being built far differently. You know, you put 20 points into Fade, and then you can take your equipment and you can just completely ignore all resists. Who needs all resists when you have ridiculous Fade? And then on top of that, if you have a really nice piece of equipment, something that you're going to use anyway, and it does have all resists, you can curtail your Fade level to the right point that you need it to be so that your resistances are maxed out in hell. Or, you know, if you're PvPing, you're just going to max it out anyway. You know why? Because there's going to be people running around with Infinity Mercs and Conviction and Necromancers with lower resist curses. And, you know, there's going to be people reducing your lightning resistance far lower than what it actually says on this panel. So having above the cap is not a bad thing in PvP. Heck, it's not a bad thing in PvM either. Especially if you go with an armor like Dark Glow Ringmail. Let me go show you that real quick. So there are a lot of items in the game which will actually increase your maximum resistance. So for instance, Dark Glow Ringmail here has a 5% increase to your max resist on every resistance. Now you can't see it because I'm in Nightmare, so let me hop out here real quick, and I'm going to hop into Normal. And you see here that I have 70% lightning. Let's see if I can beef that up just a tad bit more with something like the ridiculous resistance shield, the Ancient's Pledge. And we're going to go ahead and cast our Fade. I don't even think we need Ancient's Pledge on. Hold on. Well, for lightning resist we don't, but for the others we do. So now you see we have 80%, but if we take off Dark Glow, everything drops to 75. There are a lot of items like this in the game. There's Hotspur boots that give 15% to fire. You know, there's was the Ring Raven Frost or something like that, which gives cold resist. You know, various little things like Venom Ward, which gives your extra to your poison resist. And you can build your resistances up ridiculously like that. And this skill, Fade, allows you to just have those amazing resists. Now, I would bring caution to the wind that since it is a castable, and you actually need to make sure that it is up to be useful, if it falls down while you're in the middle of something, you know, if it goes off while you're in the middle of like fighting a lightning enchanted monster, things aren't going to go well for you. You might die immediately, actually. So it can be dangerous to rely on Fade if you're not one of those people that keeps up with it. So let's look at some other abilities here. So we have these are our 3 castables that give you buffs. And early on, Burst of Speed might be one that you play with, but at the end of the day, Fade ends up being a no-brainer. Now, we've talked about Wet Claw Mastery, Weapon Block. We also have our Shadow Master, which is all with Shadow Warrior and Shadow Master. Shadow Master is interesting because she's basically just like a Valkyrie. It's a way to split damage, which is very nice. And she uses abilities. She casts like your little Blade Sentinel, and she casts Fade, and she has a bunch of other little abilities like Burst of Speed. She's going to be running around, kind of helping you out. And if you want to build into that sort of thing, so you have a reliable little Valkyrie, running along beside you, helping you out, it's useful. I don't believe they're powerful enough to really kill things on their own in hell or anything, but hey. Then you have Psychic Hammer, Cloak of Shadows, and Mind Blast. So Cloak of Shadows is interesting because it... Let's see here. Let me go ahead and show you, because it's easier to show you than it is to try and tell you. So let's say you're in... I'm trying to think of a good place with ranged classes. Canyon of the Magi has a bunch of like bone archers and stuff, doesn't it? Let's go ahead and throw something on the main hand here. So Cloak of Shadows is mainly for things that are ranged. It will help very much in keeping those ranged targets from being able to hit you. You basically just kind of keep casting it. And since it makes it really difficult for the monsters to actually see you, notice how they just kind of stand there and they don't really know what's going on because they can't actually see where you are. It comes in handy if you're just trying to like do a quick run through on an area and you don't want to actually, you know, kill anything. You're just trying to get through. You know, casting the Cloak of Shadows is going to help you just sort of get by. You can just run through everything. It's not really a big deal. Most of the monsters won't be able to see you unless you get extremely close to them. You would literally have to get like within a certain radius for them to actually even be able to see you. So you're just kind of defensive, a very defensive ability. The other one is also very defensive. Mind Blast. It is a conversion. So if you use it on a target, let's go somewhere where it actually won't kill things in one hit. Hold on. It's one of the reasons why you don't throw. I always love those magic little numbers when they get all like I don't know. I don't know if that's gold. It's more like almost like a goldy brown color. Here we go. So these guys can usually take more than one hit. It stuns them, sort of knocks them back, and it also has a chance to convert them. Now the conversion doesn't last for too long, but it's an excellent little crowd control ability. It can help you out in dangerous situations. Now granted, it does not work against champions, and it does not work against notorious monsters, or named monsters, whatever you want to call them. Basically, those monsters are immune to the conversion effect, but you will still get the knockback. So let me see if I can find any kind of named monster. You know, it's funny, I don't remember there being a lot of named monsters in Canyon of the Magi. Let's go over to Rigid Highlands, and we'll use this on Eldritch. So as you can see, it will knock him back. It will sort of mess with him, but it doesn't do the conversion. And it also doesn't do the stun. It's kind of a one-point wonder. You don't really need to put a lot into it, but if you do put a lot into it, the stun duration will continue to rise. And let's go back to the tree here. Then we have Psychic Hammer. I mean, I feel like Psychic Hammer is kind of usurped by Mind Blast, because even though Psychic Hammer is a knockback, it doesn't really do very much damage, and Mind Blast essentially does the same thing, and then also comes with a stun and a conversion. So if you're going to use anything as a like crowd control, you know, ability, Mind Blast is probably the one you're going to go with. So that pretty much covers the Shadow Disciplines tree, and we may or may not come back to this tree after we talk about the others. So the next tree is the Trap tree. All right, so we only have like level 2 on these skills, so let's go to somewhere like Black Marsh, and we're gonna whip out our traps. I'm gonna start by telling you which one absolutely sucks. So Wake of Inferno. Wake of Inferno is just garbage, and it's because it's based off of the Inferno skill. And that's, you know what? Let's save and exit here real quick, because I don't want my my little shadow master to be killing things while I'm telling you about the traps. Alright. So let's go over here. Let's use our little Inferno traps. I just want to show you. And at level 2 in Black Marsh, they can kill some really weak monsters easily. And they have trouble with things like Moon Lords. And Moon Lords are not really that hard. They just happen to have a more HP. And then if you were to go somewhere like Inner Cloister, which is a little higher level, it really doesn't seem to matter how much damage Inferno traps do. They just never do very well. Like, they're okay in killing things if you stand still and like let them work. But let's say, you know, you're in trouble here and you're trying to run away. You know, you've got to back away and you've got to make room for yourself. Inferno and Arctic Blast, they are two skills, two spells, I guess I should say, that have just never been very good in the game. And I've actually built an Inferno Sorceress, and I actually built an Arctic Blast Druid just for the fun of it, just to see if I could make it work, and I could not. I don't know why the damage is so poor, and how it's not even just the damage, because the damage can be a very amazing number, but when it's applied to the target, it seems to be applied in such a horrible way that the math just never works out in your favor. Alright, so which one should you use early game? Well, early game, the best, I think literally the best, is Wake of Fire. So Wake of Fire is just this awesome AoE ability. It does not do a huge amount of damage, but let me just say that the AoE on it makes up for the lack of damage. And then when you start stacking them, you have these little fire things coming, just murdering everything in these little AoE firewalls. Just amazing. You go into a big group of monsters. Let's find like a really nice chunky group of monsters. So we got a nice little chunky group here, and here's just one of them. So early game, Wake of Fire can be very, very useful. You can continue to build Wake of Fire up as high as you need to, and it does go up in damage, but there is a point at which it doesn't do as good. Then you got your little Fire Blast. So let's go take a look at Fire Blast here real quick. Fire Blast is one of your early skills, and believe it or not, it's actually kind of cool. I remember when I built my Trap Sin, I had fun with Fire Blast just simply because it's so obnoxiously explodey. Nice little AoE damage attack. And you're going to need to build Fire Blast later on for things like... where is it? For Death Sentry. You get more shots per level every time you build up Fire Blast, which Death Sentry is awesome. Death Sentry, and we might as well talk about that since we segued into it here. Death Sentry is essentially Corpse Explosion on the Necromancer, just to a lesser degree. So on the Necromancer, I believe it's 70 to 120% of the corpse's life, and on the Trap Sin, it is 40 to 80%, and that's not, like, awful or anything. And what you do is you cast it in a group of monsters that have, died. And it explodes that corpse, doing damage to everything nearby. And since it is a percentage-based damage off of the HP of the monsters, you are pretty much guaranteed to kill things if you get enough of those explosions off. Now, the problem with that, though, is that you do absolutely need to kill things before your Death Sentry is going to have any effect. So if you just cast a Death Sentry, it's going to start shooting lightning, and it's going to try to kill things. And if nothing dies, you got no corpses to explode, and it's not going to work very well. And those little lightning blasts, they do actually consume the charges that would be used for the corpse explosion. Right, so in a lot of builds that involve Trap Sins, Trap Assassins, Death Sentry ends up becoming one that you definitely want to grab. Just simply because it is an amazing... Corpse Explosion is just amazing, and no matter what difficulty you're in, no matter where you are, it has a very good possibility and chance of killing things. Just simply because, if a monster that has 10,000 health dies, and there's another monster standing right next to it that's identical that also has 10,000 health, and you explode that corpse, you have 40 to 80%, so you're doing at least like half to almost, 3/4 of their health with one explosion, just like that. Now, granted, I think resistances come into play a little bit, but I think it's mainly physical resistance. And even then, for some reason, with Corpse Explosion, it bypasses the majority of it. Because on Necromancer, it's 70 to 120%. So, theoretically, if you were to have 5 identical monsters standing next to, 3 corpses, and you exploded 2 of those corpses, and it rolled the lowest possible that it could be, so 70%. 75% plus 70% is 140%. So 2 corpse explosions on the Necromancer should theoretically kill all 5 of those monsters, but for some reason it doesn't. Sometimes it takes 3 or sometimes even 4 corpse explosions to get the effect. And I think it's because there is some kind of resistance going on, but it's not a lot. Like I think it might bring it down by like 10 or 20%, because it seems like even though technically by the numbers 2 should do it, 3 always does. I don't know. So then we go into the other parts of this tree. So we're not putting any points in the Wake of Inferno. It's garbage. Wake of Fire is pretty fun. Now if you do build Wake of Fire, you probably will put points into Wake of Inferno just simply because you want to beef up your Wake of Fire. Then we also have the Shockweb. I actually had a lot of fun playing around with the Shockweb. I remember back in the day, it was just kind of hilarious. Because you just basically toss it on top of somebody. But it's static, and when the monster moves, they walk out of it. If you can get them to stand still in it, that's a different story. Shockweb is required, I believe, if you're building into, Charged Bolt and Lightning Sentry. It does help out these by giving them more shots per. Although you could theoretically say, hey, maybe I don't need more shots per. Maybe I'll just cast more traps. So it's up to you. And then we have Charged Bolt Sentry. Charged Bolt Sentry is interesting, but it's not the best of the lot here. So let's go ahead and so Charge Bolt obviously is using the lightning skill from Sorceress. It is the one that is very early on in the game, and when you beef it up, the number of bolts does not increase, which is kind of silly. You have to beef up Shockweb to get the number of bolts on your Charged Bolt Sentry to increase. So you see here it says Shockweb plus 1 bolt per 3 levels. So at max, you can get it to, what is it, 3. 20 divided by 3 is, so plus 6. I guess it could be rounded up to 7. And then obviously it starts with 5, so 5 plus 6, so you got 11 bolts. Not really the greatest. On Sorceress, I think you can get it up to like 25 bolts easily. So, I mean, if you count in the fact that you can obviously cast a certain number of them, so you can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 times 5, so we got 11 times 5. So you're looking at a total of 55 bolts for 5 of them casted at the same time. I mean, it's a lot of bolts, but I'm not really sure if that's going to work out the greatest. And then we have Lightning Sentry. Lightning Sentry is obviously the Sorceress's lightning spell. So just straight lightning. It's not chain lightning or anything. It probably would be a little bit better if it was chain lightning, because it would be more AoE.
Not enough mana.
But lightning does more single target damage, and chain lightning does more AoE damage. So it really depends on what you're looking at there. And let's see here. Then we got the Blade Tree. Alright, so the Blade Tree is interesting because it takes your weapon damage into account as well, along with the attacks. You got your Blade Shield, which your Blade Shield is literally a blades that come around you in a circle here, and they deal damage to anything you are nearby. So as you can see here, he's taking damage from my blades, just for me standing near him. This can come in handy when you have things like super close to you. It'll help a little bit by causing them to have to perform a hit recovery. It's not like the super greatest. I mean, you could put 1 point in it and you could just forget about it. Let your plus to skills beef it up so the duration isn't so terrible. Because it only has a 25-second duration when it first starts out. Alright. Then we have the 2 skills like Blade Sentinel, which is a blade that literally just travels back and forth. Not exactly the easiest to use, and it doesn't last very long. Now, this one is actually a little bit more fun. It is the Blade Fury. Blade Fury literally shoots blades out of your hand. And of course, it is 3/4 of your weapon damage as well. It is physical damage, so it's kind of like Inferno, and I think this is the way that Inferno actually works. See, I think one of the problems is that Inferno gives you this false sense of that it's doing damage constantly when it's not. So Inferno is for some reason only doing damage in a very silly way, just like Blade Fury. It's shooting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and there's no way to increase that speed at which it's hitting a target. So even though you would have somebody completely engulfed in your flames, they're not actually being hit by the individual sections of the Inferno. And if you notice the way that Inferno works, it is individual sections. Like, if you move it... Let me see if I can find a target that's actually moving. Oh, that's not... Those are not moving targets. How about y'all take some blades and die? Not gonna cooperate. Here we go. We got some moving targets. So let's see if we can get them to move. So you see how it almost seems to be individual pieces. So as they run, you can kind of see that the individual little segments separate. And I've always noticed this about Inferno, and I'm pretty sure that each segment does the damage, and each segment has to hit the target. So it's not, as much as they like to say that it's damage per second, it's not damage per second, it's damage per hit of a segment. And so every single segment has to hit the target, otherwise it's not taking the damage from each segment. And I think they split the damage up in the segments. So like, even though it says 28 to 52, I'm pretty sure it's doing something like every segment is divided of that 28 to 62, and then it ends up being some stupid number. I'm going off on a tangent. Sorry. So, Blade Sentinel and Blade Fury. You actually can build Blade Sentinel and Blade Fury. It's kind of fun. I think... Let me just double check this, because I was sure there was one other skill that Venom affected, and I think it was Blade Fury. Let me just double check. There you are, Venom. Let me use my tiny little potions. Alright. Of course, they're dying in one hit. I need to go somewhere a little bit harder. It did turn green here, so let's see real quick if it did actually cause the poison damage. We'll go to Act 5 real quick. I'm sure those monsters can take my, like, level 3 Blade Fury. Get out the way, suckers. We ain't got time. We ain't got time. Ain't got time. Ain't got time. So ain't got time. Dang it. Venom. I didn't even realize. Alright, so let's go over here. These guys should be able to take more than one hit of damage. So there you go. Yeah, I was remembering incorrectly at that time, but yes, Venom actually does help out your Blade Fury as well. So if you wanted to build that to increase your Blade Fury damage, it could come in handy there. Of course, you know the fade. The fade does tend to be the more enticing one of those three. It's definitely something that most assassins are going to build. I think that pretty much covers the traps tree and the discipline tree, and now we move on to the tree that I suck at. I just suck at this tree. Alright, so let's explain the charge up and the finishers first, okay? So you have two classes of skills here. You have charge up skills. Now your charge up skills are going to give you these little orbs that go around your character. All right, so when you go up to somebody and you hit him with a charge up skill, you're going to get little orbs, and you can stack orbs. You can get multiple kinds of orbs if you switch back and forth quickly enough. And then what you do is you actually hit, and all those orbs will basically hit those targets. So they all get released with your finisher. Now let's see here. Dragon Flight is a 1-point wonder. It is a teleport. It is a teleport that is restricted to having a monster to teleport to. Unlike the sorceresses, where she just simply chooses a destination, Dragonflight requires you to actually have, you know, a target. It is kind of cool though, because you can, for instance, build your charges, teleport in, and just murder something. Let me try here. Let's see if I can do this. So we're gonna do fists. We're gonna do lightning. We're gonna do ice. We're gonna see if we can build all three real quickly. Of course, I have not enough hit recovery to be surrounded by monsters. And we release our little aura there. 1, 2, 3. So it's a very interesting way to build, because you're essentially charging up your ability first, and then you're smashing somebody in the face with that ability. Phoenix is interesting because it has so many different effects. I always thought it was really beautiful when you teleported in and you did your little crap right in the middle of the big group. You know, you're like, when you get your little ice balls. But a lot of people don't actually build Phoenix. It's very high up the tree, and it's not as effective as it would lead you to believe, unfortunately. Early game, this one is actually really nice, because it provides an explosion. So, for instance, let's choose a Dragon Talon. So you see we got like a little explosion here. And this would be a good time to use my little Dragon Flight to escape. If I can get out of the hit recovery loop. You did hear I was blocking a lot there with my double claws though, so that's pretty cool. So, what you have here is you have a tree full of charge-ups, and you have a tree full of finishers, okay? This finisher in particular is not really the greatest. It's specifically for teleporting. You can build it, but I think most people just use it for teleports. Dragon Tail, Dragon Claw, and Dragon Talon are kind of like the main ones that people use. Dragon Talon is a kick, alright? So if you go somewhere, like say, let's just hop into Canyon of the Magi real quick. And we start kicking stuff. Alright, so we're gonna kick. And as you can see, it's it is kick damage. Now, the weird thing about this is it is its own specific skill. Alright? So let's turn this down a little bit. Just like Smite on the Paladin, every pair of boots has its own kick damage. You notice how my light-plated Goblin Toes have 8 to 16 kick damage. So I'm looking at finding the right pair of boots so that my kicks are devastating. Just the same way that a Paladin has to find the right shield with the highest kick, smite damage. Now, kick also gets things like Crushing Blow, which does make it very effective. Crushing Blow is the effect here that's on my Goblin Toad boots, so 25% chance of Crushing Blow. Crushing Blow is a chance to actually deal out percentage-based damage. Go ahead and finish these monsters off real quick. Alright, so basically how Crushing Blow works is if it's a regular monster, let's say the regular monster had 100,000 health, and you hit a crushing blow, it would reduce that monster's health by 25%, giving him 75,000 health. If you hit him again with another crushing blow, it would reduce it by another 25%, giving him 56,000 damage. So as you can see, crushing blow works the least effective on monsters that have very low hit points, and works the most effective on monsters that have ridiculously high amounts of hit points. So, crushing blow also only works 12.5% on named champions, like Diablo, Bale. It doesn't do the 25%, and only does 12.5. But that's still a lot. So say you were fighting Bale, and Bale has 100,000 health, and you hit him with a crushing blow for 12.5%. That's going to be 87,500 he's got left. And you can use crushing blow to reduce the health of monsters to a level that is manageable for you. Say you do 250 damage. Well, you hit them enough with crushing blow, they're going to eventually get down. They're going to eventually get down to the point where you can kill them. All right. There are actually entire kick assassins. So, they build their entire character on assassins. They get themselves the best boots. They get themselves the crushing blow to 100%. And they build their character in a way that allows them to just run around kicking everything to death. Now, granted, you can also build your charge ups and you can kick. However, I have been told that people have done the math, and believe it or not, if you build your kicking assassin correctly, you can actually just walk around kicking people. You don't even have to use the charge ups at all. And of course, that would give you an amazing ability to put points somewhere else. So instead of building any of these charge ups, you would put all your points into Dragon Talon. You'd probably grab Dragon Flight for the teleport, and then you could stack all your stuff over here into the Shadow Disciplines, or even get some traps like the Death Sentry trap, which is going to be an amazing boon to no matter what assassin you build. Now, Cobra Strike is another one worth talking about. Cobra Strike is a huge lifesteal. So if you were a kick assassin, maybe you would grab Cobra Strike. So with Cobra Strike, you're going to be able to steal mana and life very easily. So let's go in here. We're going to grab some charge ups. 1, 2, 3. And then we do a nice little kick here, and we grab our mana and our life back. So even if you're not a melee assassin, you could theoretically use this as a way to restore your mana and your health. If you happen to be a trap sin, maybe you're just you're casting your little charge bolt sentries or whatever. You got these you run out of mana. You come over here, you do a quick 1, 2, 3, and then you just hit that, grab your mana back, move on with your life. Kick, 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 kick. Alright, so we've pretty much covered this tree. You got Tiger Strike, which is your physical damage. You've got Fist of Fire, which is your fire damage, obviously. Claws of Thunder is your lightning. That's your ice. And then, of course, Phoenix Strike is all three. A lot of one-point wonders here. Cobra Strike is a one-point wonder. You got your Dragon Flight as a one-point wonder. Your Fade, at least if you put 1 point into that, that's an amazing way to beef up your resistances, and you probably go even further with that. Mind Blast is a 1-point wonder, help you out with some of your crowd control. Even the Shadow Master is a nice 1-point wonder because it's going to give you, something that can distract the enemy. And then Death Sentry, because Corpse Explosion doesn't have really any limits, even level 1 Corpse Explosion or level 1 Death Sentry can still be very useful. So, for instance, here I am standing next to this pile of corpses, cast Death Sentry, and he can just kill this guy for me. So, you know, if you're a trap assassin, if you're a melee assassin, if you're a shadow assassin from the deep, darkest depths of the underworld, you know, cast your little sentries, and they can help you murder things, even in hell difficulty. Just nice corpse explosion. Nice. Now, there are obviously some very intricate ways that you could build assassins. You can have a mix of martial arts and traps. You can have a mix of pretty much all three of the trees. You could ignore martial arts and go completely traps. You could ignore traps and go completely martial arts. You know, the Shadow Disciplines tree, I think, is going to get points no matter what, just simply because it has these amazing buffs. And then, of course, you know, there's things like Weapon Block, which will help you out if you're going to use Dual Claws. You know, you can take this and you can run with it, and you can build your assassin any way you want to. The assassin is definitely a strong melee character, and it is a strong casting character, too. So, you know, however it is that you want to build this character, go for it. So we've got Dragon Tail. Dragon Tail is the explosive kick, and I think that's the one that everybody uses. Sorry, not Dragon Talon, because it's an explosion. So it's actually a radial AoE explosion. I mixed up the two, I'm sorry. Like I told you, melee assassin is not my strong suit. Alright, so let's take a look here. We're going to grab our little group of monsters, do our little dragon kick. You see here, a nice little AoE explosion. That's what makes this one so nice. Of course, you know, as much as I know that building these charges up is not really the best and most effective way of dishing out damage, I loved, like, just simply going, you know, like, okay, let's get 1, 2, 3, and then let's get 1, 2, 3, and then let's get 1, 2, 3, and let's build them all up, and then let's unleash them all at the same time. I always thought that was amazing. You know, and then you can throw in Phoenix Strike in there too, and you can really have just a fun old time with all the fireworks. That's what I'm going to call it. They may not be particularly effective at actually dealing damage, don't get me wrong, but they're beautiful fireworks. Now with Phoenix, the problem with Phoenix is it doesn't do all three. It does one or the other, So you actually have to build. So for instance, one charge is Meteor. Come on, are you going to do it or no? So one charge is Meteor. 2 charges is Chain Lightning, or the Lightning, which is pretty cool. And then 3 charges, of course, is the Frozen Orb, which you've already seen. So it's a little bit more of a thinking man's game. You got to do your rotation correctly. Make sure you're getting things off right. Like for instance, with charged, you got 1 is the Nova. 2 is someone else's attack. Come on. Sorry, that's 3. 3 is charged bolt. So lightning, Nova, and charge bolt. That's right. And then we have the ice one. Also has 3 different ones. It's got cold damage radius, and then it has freeze duration. So the third one adds freeze duration to the attack, which is nice. And then we have, where is it? So Fire Fists, same thing, has 3 different charges, 3 different effects. So one charge only gives you the fire damage, the second charge gives you the radius, and the third charge gives you the extra damage on top. And let's see here. I'm trying to know if I've forgotten anything. We did those. And then we have, of course, Tiger Strike is as simple as it sounds. It gives you damage. So every charge increases the amount of damage that it does to a certain percentage. So 1, you see the damage go up, 2, and the damage goes up even further. So you see how it changes the damage on my character tree. I start out at 118, first charge 221, second charge 325, third charge 429. I have been told, however, that even though the massive amount of damage that Tiger Strike adds, if you build your kick assassin appropriately, you actually don't even need Tiger Strike charge up. Well, I think that's pretty much it for the introduction to the assassin. I hope that if you plan on building an assassin, I helped you out even a tiny little bit. Now, granted, this is not a endgame build guide. If you want to look up an endgame build guide, feel free to do so. I'm not looking to tell you all how to build your assassin. I'm just looking to show you all the options and give you ideas. So, thanks for watching, and keep watching.
He's a little birdie. He's a little birdie, aren't you? That's a cute little birdie. Very cute.